They cut 30% of the oil. They banned all the laborers. They banned 90% of the exports. They banned joint ventures. We've basically taken it, and in the words of North Korea, we have strangled their economic situation at this point. That's going to take a little bit of time, but it has already started to take effect. What we are seeing is they continue to be provocative. They continue to be reckless. And at that point, you know, there's not a whole lot the Security Council is going to be able to do from here when you've cut 90% of the trade and 30% of the oil. So having said that, I have no problem kicking it to General Mattis because I think he has plenty of options.
No, just to emphasize the point that Ambassador Haley made, these sanctions are just now taking effect. What's really important is rigorous enforcement of those sanctions so that we can really let the economic actions and diplomacy progress as best we can. But I think we ought to make clear what's different about this approach is that we're out of time, right? As Ambassador Haley said before, you know, we've been kicking the can down the road and we're out of road. And so for those who have said and have been commenting about the lack of a military option, there is a military option. Now, it's not what we would prefer to do. So what we have to do is call on all nations, call on everyone to do everything we can to address this global problem short of war. So that is implementing now these significant sanctions that have just now gone into place, and it is convincing everyone to do everything that they can, and that it's in their interest to do it. What's different, I think, about this approach to North Korea is worth noting. First of all, there is consensus among all key nations that denuclearization of the peninsula is the only acceptable objective. The second thing is, this is not an issue between the United States and North Korea. This is an issue between the world and North Korea. And the third recognition is there is a lot that we can do about it together. And so we need time, obviously, for any strategy to work. It is a sound approach to a very difficult problem, and we'll see if it succeeds.
To you on North Korea, obviously there's more UN Security Council action that could be taken. Are you at all hopeful that there is any chance for a full oil embargo as this administration had wanted? Or at what point, President Trump himself said this was a small step, the last UN Security Council vote. I think disagreeing with you, but Secretary Tillerson agreed with him that it seemed to have been a small step. So at what point does this administration take a bigger step and, for example, put tougher sanctions on China in order to put pressure on North Korea?
Well, I think, first of all, let's talk about what a big sanctions resolution this was. The first one was $1 billion. This second one was $1.3 billion, not counting the 30% decrease in oil. We did a 55, and just imagine if this happened to the United States, a 55% reduction in diesel and oil. Overall ban of natural gas, overall ban of any substitutes, overall ban of textiles, stopping the laborer program, which we call as modern day slavery, stopping all joint ventures so foreign investment goes in there. We have cut off now 90% of trade going into North Korea, and they are saying that this was strangling. So, you know, whether some believe it's big or small, I think what the president's saying is this is just the beginning of what we can do. So it's going to be, by the time we get going on this, if we have to go further, this is going to look small compared to what we do. But no, it was a massive sanctions bill. And I think the fact that we had a 15-0 record and you have China on board and Russia on board, I think that's very important. We've cut 30% of the oil. Is there more you can do? There's always more you can do. But then you get into the humanitarian aspect of it, which is at what point are you going and actually hurting down to the people of North Korea? But we will always explore all options that we have.
Thank you, Ambassador. Two quick questions. The first one is the fact that President Putin and President Xi Jinping won't be there. Will it have an impact on what the outcome of whatever you'll discuss on Syria and North Korea?
I do think that it's still going to be strong and have an impact because you've got two very strong foreign ministers from Russia and China that are going to be there. And the idea that we're going to be talking about Syria and North Korea and Iran and all of those other things, I think it'll be serious discussions. And I think the fact that President Xi and President Putin couldn't be there is not going to change the effect of what the talks that we have next week.
Going to Shaw?
That's their choice tonight, Shaw.
Yeah, I would just add on to say the UN General Assembly is not a substitute for bilateral relationships with any nations. And as you know, the president's been working very closely, especially with President Xi, on this common problem and this world problem of North Korea.
For 7 decades, the United States Air Force has pushed the boundaries of science and technology. helped restore peace and stability to troubled lands, and kept Americans safe from those who threaten our very way of life. Nothing inspires more confidence in our friends or strikes more fear in the hearts of our enemies than the sight of American warplanes on the horizon. You patrol the sky, protect the homeland, and deliver American justice to anyone who dares to threaten our people. From the earliest wooden biplanes to the high-tech UAVs to the awesome power and stunning beauty of the F-35, B-2, F-22, and I saw a lot of them today, the F-15, the F-16, the F-18. I don't know which one I like the most. But our aviators have given America total dominance of the air and space, no matter where we fly. Now, when our enemies hear the F-35 engines, when they're roaring overhead, their souls will tremble and they will know the day of reckoning has arrived.